I mean, look at that. That's that's what that's what the definition of an invasion looks like. So today I wanted to talk about um, there's a few topics that I had to talk about, um, but we're going to start with the Trump comments about the bloodbath thing. Fortunately for us, Americans are waking up and nobody else is falling for this anymore. Um, it just it just most people understand that the media is going to twist, and even finding this video with the actual statements was pretty difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Nobody clipped it up and made the and and created what he actually said. So we're gonna listen to it. I looked through the video and found at the point to where he started talking about China and the economy, specifically what he was talking about, where they mangled his statements and made him seem like he was saying something else.
They're all made in China. And the United
He's talking about automobiles. So I guess I cut that part out.
States auto workers never probably shook hands with a Republican before. They're destroying. You know, Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in the country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to.
See, that's what he was talking about. He's talking about the automotive industry. If they don't tax the vehicles, so you can't buy everything, right? If you have too much money going out, this is simple economics. You have too much money going out, not enough money coming in, your country is going to suffer. If you're employing the people inside of the country and you're making vehicles or you're making a product and you're exporting it, then you can have some money returned to the country. But if you're only buying, and anybody with a family or anybody that's an adult understands how this works, right? You can't just buy shit all the time. You have to go to work, make money to bring back home before you can have the available funds to spend money. And if they're taking the building or manufacturing outside of the U.S. and then shipping all the stuff in here to the people, if he puts significant tariffs on it, it jacks up the prices of those cars. Therefore, nobody will be able to afford them, and then subsequently, those factories are shut down in Mexico or wherever they're being imported from.
Be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
But by no way is he calling for any type of violence if he doesn't win. He's talking about the automotive industry. If other countries are able to create vehicles and just ship them inside of the United States or they can make them cheap because they're using slave labor, there's no way we're going to be able to compete, because in the United States you have to have livable wages for people. You have to have clean work environments. There's a bunch of regulations that govern the work environment inside of the United States, whereas other countries don't have to adhere to any of that, and they can work people for 18, 20 hours a day just to get the job done.
But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine, all he does is build car manufacturing plants. He's the biggest in the world. I mean, honestly, I joke about it. He can't walk across the street, and that way he's like Biden. But for building a plant, he can do the greatest plants in the world, right? That's all he cares about. I said, I'd like to see one of your plants recently. I said, I'd like to see, where can we go? Well, we have to travel to Mexico. I said, why Mexico? He said, because that's where the big plants are building. China's building really big plants in Mexico, and Mexico's building. What about here? Well, we're building much smaller plants here. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? So what they're saying, Jim Jordan, is that we're going to make cars in Mexico, and they're going to do, you're not going to stand for that, Bernie, JD. I have a feeling JD's not big into that policy. 100%.
Yeah, so I think we got the full context of what he was talking about. He was talking about the automotive industry being completely demolished. If foreign nations are able to build, go south of our border, employ local people for pennies on the dollar, get these vehicles built, ship them to the United States, and being sold at United States vehicle values, collecting all of the resources. Actually, they're essentially extracting our resources without putting anything back in our system. So that's where the terrorists come through. He's not talking about rioting or anything. These people are ridiculous. But that's all I'll say for that. The other thing that I want to cover was the border crisis. I saw a super disturbing video where I don't know if any of you guys have seen World War Z, but you remember the scene when they climbed over the wall in Israel, and then they just like all started like scrambling everywhere. Tell me this doesn't look like this. Let me see if I can find it on Instagram. So here it is. This is the video I was talking about. This is the border. This is in El Paso. I have family members that live in El Paso, and I'm gonna tell them to move out of there because this is insane. Like, these are, I think, National Guardsmen, and this is the supposed barrier, and they're just running through the barrier, and I'm sure that they have no ability to enforce anything. They're just there as they're just there for presence, from what I understand. I mean, look at that. That's what that's what the definition of an invasion looked like. Like, people just like running across whatever barrier to get into a different situation. And yeah, I have empathy for these people, but just do the paperwork, immigrate legally. But if you can't come here and provide some kind of and be a part of the community, then I don't know what to tell you. All right, that's all I'll show of that. But like, if they were able to get through this barrier too, what's to stop them? The soldiers they don't look like they have the ability to enforce anything. They can't do anything. Like, yeah, I'm sure you should use deadly force against them, but we could have prevented this. That shitty gate that they had, or that shitty barbed wire that they had out there, they could have just reinforced that, and then that situation would have never happened. What I'm interested to know is what happened to the soldiers that are left behind here. And then, if you noticed earlier in the video, they had it seemed like the people had already walked by a group of soldiers, and they looked like they couldn't do anything. So I just don't know what you do. Like, what does Texas do? What do the National Guard soldiers do? That's who I feel for. The soldiers that are down there. They're just down there, like, because the more people that, if this continues to happen, then they're just going to be entrenched with citizens from other countries, and they have weapons. I'm not sure if there aren't. I'm not sure if those rifles have any ammunition. If they have any munitions, what are their orders to? Do they have orders to stand down? Who's giving the orders, and what? And what can they do? I just put myself in their shoes, and what would I be able to do if I had no overhead covering? Like, I'm there to protect the border, but there's nothing to be done. There's a few more things that happened, like the Candace Owens situation that just happened, I think, yesterday, where she left the Daily Wire and she's going independent again. There's a bunch of speculations, but I'll talk about those in the next week's video. I appreciate you guys checking in again. Thank you. I love you. See you. Peace.